Welcome to Please Me. This podcast is intended for mature audiences. Eve is a licensed physical therapist who treats conditions that relate to sexual health. Please sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome to another sexy episode of Please Me, the podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex by turning the sheets into our classroom. I hope you were able to watch or listen to my last podcast with Edward Miskey. Edward talked about his book, Cancer, Musical Theater, and Other Chronic Illnesses. It sounds sad and dark, but not only was he hilarious and had me in stitches, he talked about the struggles he faced as a cancer survivor and how he used sexual pleasure to ground himself as a tool for centering and coping. Sex was something he could control in an otherwise uncontrollable situation, and it brought him validation, belonging, pleasure, and a sense of bodily control. We use sex for different reasons. It can be a tool for coping. It can be used as a recreational sport for physical pleasure. It can be used as a way to connect with a loved one and have relational intimacy. It can be used as a romantic gesture for relationship building and displaying love. Sex can also be used for stress relief, and all of these reasons are 100% valid. As I have said before, sex is how adults play, and whether you are in it for experimentation, validation, feeling good, or expressing love, every single reason is a good reason to have some fun. Today, I am so excited to welcome back my most popular guest of season 1. Julieta Chiara was featured as a guest in episode 19, which was all about kink and shibari, or Japanese rope tying, of which she is a master teacher. Julieta is also a sex and kink coach and has been featured in Men's Health, Cosmopolitan, Women's Health, Shape Magazine, and so many others. And I am reaching through the internet to extend the very warmest and kinkiest welcome to Julieta today. Welcome back, Julieta. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm glad to hear that we have a fun and engaged kinky community.
Absolutely. What was it? 45% of Americans say that they're kinky. So it's really a very huge community, and not a lot of people know that. So I think it's important to spread the word because, if you're kinky or you have some, out of the box thinking, when it comes to sex, you are not alone.
Oh, no. And there's a lot of us who it's our entire life and we find it very normal. So we're here to validate it for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love me some good kink. So, and we talked about feet last time, but we're not going to get into that this time because we have a lot of other things that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I invited you back because I have some really fun topics that I want to cover today. And I thought that you would be the perfect guest to weigh in on these topics with me. So let's get into the first topic.
Do it.
Do women care about penis size? You may be surprised by the statistics, but before I jump into those, I want to ask Julieta what she thinks.
Yes and no. Your stance on penis size, it's a very individual decision. But what I will say is it doesn't matter as much as someone thinks it does. So it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on the place and what you're looking to do with sizing, but it's not the most important thing. So I'm curious to hear what statistics you found.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you know that 45% of men think that they have a small penis? That's a huge percentage. And clearly men are down on themselves more than they should be because the average penis size is between 4.5 to 6 inches. And when women were polled, most women chose the average size. What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty common. It's what we would call in my industry, it's boyfriend dick. It's an appropriate sized penis that is not going to cause pain. You could have sex with often without repercussions. You can still feel. So there's a lot of intricacies that go into finding the perfect penis size for you. Because again, it's, kind of like diet or your exercise routines. The penis size you prefer is a very personal decision.
Absolutely, it really is. But average size is what most women, choose when they want, to choose a penis size. They choose within the normal range of average. So I thought that was super interesting, and can give men a little bit of, time to kind of just decompress and relax about it, because it's constantly, sometimes people are just constantly down on themselves about that. And really, you might be within normal range. When you look at porn is specifically, the people that they hire for porn, the men that they hire for porn, I should say, are specifically chosen because they have larger than average penises. So if you're comparing yourself to a porn star, you're comparing yourself to somebody who has larger than average penis size. So that is not a good comparison. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I mean, from what I've seen, it's not even larger than it's like monstrously larger. It's penis sizes that could be potentially damaging or concerning to a receiving partner. So, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, just because it looks bigger doesn't mean it's always better.
That's right. And I want to mention too here that the women that are chosen for porn typically have smaller labia, or they're, chosen because they're smaller in stature, so that the man's penis is going to look bigger because the woman is so petite. So, when you're looking at the comparison between the man and the woman, it's going to actually appear that the man's penis is bigger because they're choosing women with smaller vulvas, and then they're choosing men with larger penises. So really, it's almost like a trick to the eye.
Yeah, it's a very big optical illusion, and you see it more in my industry, and I'm so glad this is being normalized to where people are being very honest about how porn sex is actually incredibly uncomfortable and very unrealistic because of things like this. The puzzle pieces are not actually fitting. They just look like they do.
Exactly. So porn is not real sex. That's the point. And the positions that the women are in may look great for the camera. However, like you just mentioned, they may not be the most comfortable. Although, they do a good job of acting, to make it seem like it's so wonderful and delicious. But reality wise, it may not be the most comfortable position for the woman as well.
Mhm.
So thinking about that when you're looking at not just your penis size, but also for women, what their vagina looks like, and trying to compare it to, porn is really a bad idea, because although porn can be extremely entertaining, and I have nothing wrong with porn, I like to watch it myself on occasion. You have to think about the reality of what they're doing in order to, turn us on, right? I mean, they're choosing different angles, they're putting lighting so that it's going to look a certain way, they're choosing bigger penises and smaller vulvas to make the penis look bigger. So there's just so many different tricks that they're doing. And so although porn is extremely entertaining, it should not be viewed as real sex. Wouldn't you agree?
Yep. And it's getting better, but absolutely the very typical, stereotypical big dick guy in porn sex is not real at all. It's very staged. It's supposed to be unrealistic. You don't think Marvel superheroes are real. We shouldn't think that this type of sex is real.
Absolutely. And that's not where you should get your, cues on how to have sex, because if that's how you're having sex, you are not going to satisfy your partner. So let's talk about what you can do to satisfy your partner. Because, sometimes penetrating too deep can be painful. And the reason for that is that the first couple of inches of the vagina or the vaginal opening is where all of the feel good nerve endings are inside the vagina. So the first couple of inches, and then beyond that, there's very little nerve receptors, the feel good nerve receptors. Deep within the vagina, what you have are pressure receptors. So you may feel, when penetrated deeply, pain. And some people will feel that as pleasure as well, because some people like a little pleasure, pain with their pleasure. But for the most part, women don't like to be penetrated so deeply because it can hurt.
Mhm. Exactly. There's like a very small percentage of women that like what we call cervical stimulation, which would be to get penetrated to the point of having their cervix hit and massaged over and over again. But, most of us don't like being poked and prodded like we're at the gynecologist.
Right. Exactly. And, the cervix is what I'm talking about. And that's exactly what you just mentioned. So, what I do find interesting, though, is that studies show that in one night stands, most women choose above average penis size for the one and done partner. So, in other words, a woman is going to choose a bigger penis for a hookup than she would for boyfriend dick, as you coined it a few minutes ago. And
Yeah.
that is super interesting. And I want to ask you why you think that is.
Yeah, we have a joke that it's about, choosing your long-term penis is about sustainability. So, of course, you could have sex with someone that has an above average penis or maybe the largest penis you've ever seen, but then you can't walk straight for the next 3 days. That's not sustainable. If that was your boyfriend and you were having regular sex, you're only going to have sex once every 2 weeks. And the odds are it's never going to get more comfortable unless your body changes. And our vaginas are flexible, but they're not going to change over one penis, right? So you choose a boyfriend dick, which is someone who has usually just a statistically standard penis to have more regular, consistent sex with. And maybe with the one night stand, you're more open to something a little larger. But again, larger doesn't always mean better. And it typically comes with some repercussions like soreness. There could be micro abrasions. You're more prone to getting hurt. You can get a cervix bruise. I don't know if anybody's had their cervix bruised before. That is completely possible. The bigger the penis, the bigger the risk.
Right, right. Isn't that interesting? I also think, too, when I think about it, that one on like the, hookup sex, a lot of times is less, like the man is less attentive to the details. So if you're having hookup sex and the person is not great orally or great manually with his hands, and he's more interested in just penetrative sex, which often happens with hookup sex, right? It's sort of more geared towards the man's pleasure and not so much the woman's. And obviously, that depends on the man and his skills. So I'm not going to just broadly say that. But in general, if you have a less attentive lover, then the only stimulation that you're going to be getting is from penetration. You may want a bigger penis for more stimulation during penetrative sex.
Yeah, absolutely. But on the other side of that coin, from either my clients' experiences or my experiences, and maybe this is useful for readers, is that having a larger penis does not automatically make you a better lover. In fact, many of the largest partners I've ever had rode off the wave of being large and never learned technique. They never learned how to use their penis and how to like really conjoin that with a woman's body. So at the same time, it's always going to come down to, yes, you have a penis, but how do you use it? It's far more important than your size.
Absolutely. How you use it is so key, and how hard it is. Let's talk about girth before we get into hardness, but hardness is so key. Um, Girth seems to be a bigger indicator of pleasure as more pleasure receptors are triggered when stretched at the opening of the vagina. And the thicker the penis is, the more stretching will occur there. So, what do you think about girth, Julieta?
I think that girth is probably far more important to any person that likes to get penetrated. I think the girth is more important than length. And it's because yes, there's the feeling of getting filled up. You truly feel more of a stretch versus a poke and a prop. So I think girth is more important than the length.
So, girth is super important, absolutely. However, if your penis is not hard enough, no matter how big your penis is, whether it's 10 inches or 4 inches, a woman is not going to feel much. So, the hardness of the penis, how much blood flow is happening, is the key to enjoying sex with a woman because, or with anybody who wants penetration, right? Because it has to be hard enough for the woman to feel it. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think we've all had our lackluster stories with perhaps a penis that wasn't completely whole. And yeah, that's a little more, that does tend to be a little more of a letdown. The feeling of a hard penis is, it works with the walls of our vagina. We hit all those pressure points, all the feel good points. So we need to have pressure against the walls.
Absolutely. And the only way to have pressure is for the penis to be rock hard. And you want it to be hard, like rock hard. You don't want it to be partially hard because even though you may be able to insert a partially hard penis in order to have penetrative sex, it's really not going to feel that great to your partner.
No.
Wouldn't you agree?
And our very strong pelvic floor muscles in the vagina tend to push out a very soft penis. So you need to have the consistency there in order to not get defeated by our muscles.
That's true. That's true. And it's interesting because men also should work their pelvic floor muscles because it attaches to the base of the penis. And the pelvic floor allows the penis to become erect and to stay, pointing upwards. Otherwise, if the pelvic floor is weak, it's kind of going to fall down. It needs to be pointing up. So having a strong pelvic floor in men is so important too.
Mhm. And it's interesting how with women, we're always sold so much in marketing on Kegels and all the pelvic floor stuff. And so, yeah, with men, it's like you want a rock hard cock, try doing Kegel stuff before you go straight to Viagra or combine everything together. You'd be amazed what's on the other side of doing some regular pelvic floor training.
Absolutely. I agree with you. There are so many ways to, make your penis harder or even appear bigger. So let's talk about some of those things that you can do to make your penis look bigger. Do you have any ideas, Julieta?
Well, the easiest and most prominent way to make your penis look bigger is probably a penis pump. If anyone here has heard of a penis pump, it is very literal what it means. It's a pump that you insert your penis into. You give it a few good squeezes, it brings blood flow into the area, and it engorges your penis and the shaft with more blood, which results in not only a size increase, but you're gonna try to accomplish that rock hardness that you're looking for. So that's the most evident one, and I usually recommend that for a lot of my clients that might struggle with ED. Even my clients that struggle with premature ejaculation, it's been a bit of a godsend. So the pump is everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
actually, premature ejaculation is a precursor to erectile dysfunction, and it is one of the signs and symptoms of erectile dysfunction. So those two things go hand in hand.
yeah, absolutely. And I love the penis pumps are amazing. Cock rings are super nice. They trap all the engorgement of that blood into the shaft, creating a rock hard penis that usually can appear a little larger. a little trick on those cock rings is to make sure you include the testicles in it. So wrap behind the testicles and above the base of the shaft. And that's going to really squeeze all the blood in.
And hold it in, right?
Hold it in. Something I do a lot with my clients as well is this takes a little bit of practice. It's not perfect, but practicing pelvic floor exercises like Kegels while you are having sex. So if you're receiving a blowjob, practicing doing Kegels as you do. The same can go for the female body. You can have some really powerful orgasms when you incorporate Kegels as you're having sex.
Absolutely. It enhances the sensation for sure. For sure.
Anything that's going
Um,
to
what's that?
anything that's going to pump the blood in.
Absolutely. Exactly. So a penis pump is definitely one of those things that makes your dick bigger, right? And I recommend the Hydromax pump, which is made by Bathmate. And you'll be able to find that link on my website on pleaseme.online. But that is a really good one to help with that. Other things that help with the illusion of making your penis look bigger is to simply trim your pubic hair. Wouldn't you say that that's important?
I think we're in an era of enough information on the internet and enough representation that if we groom the rest of our bodies, we should highly consider landscaping our pubic region as well. There's no
Right.
no need to go completely hairless, but a nice trim does a lot. It really does.
It really, really does. And it will make your penis look bigger if you have a lot of hair that's covering the base of the penis. And oftentimes men have hair there. So if you cut that shorter, it's going to show the base of your penis more, which is going to make it look longer. And then another one, which I find very interesting, is weight loss. If you lose 35 pounds or more, your penis can actually look an inch or more bigger just from losing weight.
I had I definitely didn't even think about that. Yeah, you're completely right. That can make it look bigger.
Yeah,
What
if the shaft of the penis is hidden because of excess fat and then you lose weight, your penis is going to look way bigger. It's amazing, but it's like, wow, I lost weight and check me out. I'm even, more virile than ever.
that's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny, but it's true. And it's something that it's a bonus, a weight loss bonus, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
um like I said before, porn stars, will use pills as well to make their penises look bigger. And obviously the pills are for blood flow. You're getting all that blood engorgement into the penis. I don't necessarily recommend pills because they can over time be really bad for your heart. And oftentimes people who have erectile dysfunction also have a heart condition. So talk about having a heart attack while you're having sex. That would be really, really bad. So what I recommend is acoustic wave therapy, and that is something that I actually treat in my practice. It's a tool that I use to help treat erectile dysfunction in my practice, and what it does is it shoots little shock waves into the tissue. It breaks apart that blockage and it allows it to flow out of the body. And so you're opening up the blockages in the blood vessels, which is going to in turn allow for more blood to flow. And not only that, but it over time it increases capillary formation, which means that you're going to create more capillaries, which allows for even more blood flow to the area. So acoustic wave therapy is really the gold standard for increasing blood flow to your penis.
Ooh, now that's modern.
Yes.
You're like a harder, larger penis that won't give me a heart attack. That sounds nice.
Exactly. We don't want a heart attack. And it can be used too, Julieta, for women who have decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, because, dryness and decreased vaginal sensitivity is caused by a decrease in blood flow to the vulva and clitoris and vagina of the women. So, increasing blood flow for women is also really important to maintaining sexual function as well.
Yeah, that would make sense. We have the same erectile tissues.
Exactly, exactly. And I like to always say that the clitoris is, the woman's version of the man's penis, and it's almost exactly the same size. It's just internally located, so we need a hard on too, you know. So in order to get, properly stimulated and to reach climax, women need to get a hard on too. Our vulvas, our clitorises, they need to be engorged. And if the partner is not engorging the tissue prior to penetration, one, it's not going to feel as good. Two, it could hurt. And three, you are going to have less likelihood of getting your partner to reach orgasm. So using stimulation to get that blood flowing is so key. What are your favorite ways of increasing blood flow for a woman?
It all has, for me, what I've seen, it's outside of, you have to address also just general health issues that might be getting in the way. I think our sexual organs are incredibly sensitive and they're affected by our diet. They're affected by the medication we take. For example, if someone's on antidepressants, your rates of arousal are really hard to reach as you would without them, right? Maybe you're extremely dehydrated. That can also there's a myriad of things that can fuck
So
with
many things.
your
Yep.
so if you are a spick and span human being for the most part, it's really going to come down to arousal and what's going to increase arousal. So if you're physically having a hard time increasing arousal, maybe take a look. It's like, am I actually turned on? Are we taking enough time to get turned on? Um, is this does this stimulation feel good? If I'm not feeling enough, have you tried something like a vibrator or a stimulating gel that could bring a little more sensation to the area? So it does come down to trying different arousal methods and really having a hard conversation to say, hey, like, is what we're doing actually turning me on? Because half the time you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with your anatomy. You might just be a little bored. You might want to try something new. You need something different.
That's right. And having those conversations is so important to let your partner know if you are turned on or aren't, and if not, what can they do in order to get you there? What can they do to turn you on? What do you like? And it can be something different each time. It doesn't have to be the same thing all the time. Obviously, variety is the spice of life, right? So trying different things, but getting to know your partner too, and knowing what turns them on is so important. So having those conversations is so important with your partner.
Exactly. And also, if you are struggling with sexual arousal or being able to get stimulated enough or being able to get hard enough, also adding on a layer of psychological shame over the problem doesn't help the problem. Because the number one boner killer for anybody is going to probably be stress. And so if you're stressed out about not having a boner, you're probably not going to get a boner because you're stressed out about not having one. So also working on the psychological aspect of accepting where you're at and finding maybe other ways to play, but not adding additional stress because of the dysfunction or the lack of sensation or the lack of hardness you might be experiencing.
Absolutely. Stressing out about it is only going to make it worse, right? And just stress in general, can cause issues with erections. So decreasing your stress in general, but also minimizing that stress about your performance, because that can also cause issues. We mentioned the penis pump. And that is a really great way to increase blood flow to your penis. There's other ways too. We talked about exercise. There's penis extenders, which really are not popular anymore, but they do work if you use them for, long periods of time. They can increase your penis length. However, it takes, years and using it daily for hours in order for that to be beneficial. So it's really not a practical way to get a larger penis. Um,
No, not at all.
and then one last way that I think is something that I just recently learned about in the last couple of years. And, men are using injections. And I'm not talking about, like the Viagra injections or the ones that like, increase the blood flow in that way. They're using fillers to make their penis look thicker and bigger. It's cosmetic, and the fillers require maintenance. So if you go that route, you will be going back regularly to get refills, just like, Botox or fillers in your face and that sort of thing. What do you think about this, Juliet? I'm curious.
I mean, I have fillers, I have Botox, and they're really amazing, but yes, it is upkeep. And yes, it changes your anatomy. And one of the biggest concerns with filler, especially, is that it has the capacity to move around inside of you. And like, for example, I have it in my lips, and then it tends, with talking and movement and sweating and all this, it'll tend to migrate and come out. And that happens to everybody. And so while you can make your it's very painful. Fillers are extremely painful. There's no amount of numbing cream they can put to make it not a painful process. You feel yourself getting filled with it, and it's not the most pleasant thing on earth. And then if you're using your penis for sex and there's so much friction in the area, I think it's worth questioning, is the filler migrating to spots where it wasn't originally supposed to go to? So I think with my lack of research, but my initial thoughts, I would have some questions around, is that healthy? And what do you risk having it in such a sensitive and vital organ of your body?
I agree. I find this to be kind of crazy. However, I also find, doing other things to be crazy. And I personally don't have any filler or anything. That's why I use all these lights. Because I'm scared of it all, honestly. I'm scared to mess my face up. And I would be afraid that, if my partner wanted to use filler for his penis, that he would mess up his dick too. Like, I just think you're right. If it migrates and you're having sex and you're constantly putting so much, pressure and, movement, then, it is going to migrate, so it may actually need even more upkeep than you actually would, you know, putting it somewhere where you're not having that constant friction.
And not to mention expensive, right? So like one vial of filler, I get one in my lips every 8 to 8 months to a year. One vial to do just lips is going to be, anywhere from the ballpark range of $400 to $700 wherever you're living. And so if you're trying to accomplish girth and you see that the volume of one vial is not as much as you think it is, you are going to need to accomplish like a bigger girth of the penis. You're probably going to need 5 or 6 of those in order to have this like notable, sizable difference in your penis. So you're looking at every single year, if not twice a year or 3 times a year, $4,000 to $5,000 worth of filler. Is that worth it?
Right. Mm-hmm. That is a big expense.
It's like I have a ton of plastic surgery. I'm here to tell you. It's like this is a very expensive hobby if when you start.
Yes, that's true. Because once you start, you're going to kind of need the upkeep. So you have to think about it's not a one time deal, right? You're not going to get filler and then like never get it again. You're going to go back because, you want to maintain that. So it is something that you would have to do on a regular. So something to think about for men.
Yeah.
So I will just say here that men, you are more than just your penis, as women are more than just their bodies. So you can focus on things that are more important, and for some people, those things are important, and for others, they may not be. But one of the things that's most important in terms of pleasuring your partner is stamina. What do you think, Julieta?
I agree with you. It's going to be there's so many aspects of stamina. Like I said, the size is not relevant when you think of what you can do with it. So I would really focus your skills down on, are you an attentive lover? Are you listening? Do you take feedback well? How long are you lasting? Since if you are having heterosexual sex, the typical female takes about 20 minutes at least to get aroused. And so I would be focusing on what can you do to make sessions longer and more impactful and more multifaceted with your entire body, not just your penis.
Exactly, exactly. Because it does take a woman between 20 to 25 minutes to become aroused in order to possibly reach orgasm. And some women take even longer than 25 minutes, so it's really important to, be able to stimulate for at least that amount of time. And if the average man takes between 5 to 7 minutes to, you know, penetrate and ejaculate, the woman will never be satisfied if that's all you're doing. So there's so many other things that you can do to stimulate the woman in order to, help her to get closer to climax. And penetration is not on the top of the list. It's not. Although it does feel good, only 3 to 5% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. So you have to stimulate externally in order to get your woman to climax.
Mhm. Yeah, you're much better off pouring all this energy about worrying about your penis size into worrying about how great you are at oral sex or with your fingers or finding the right toys to bring in. Though those would be far more substantial than wondering if your penis alone is going to be the end all be all of a good sexual experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's so true. And, one of those things that can help a man to increase their stamina is edging. Do you want to talk about edging?
Hmm. Of course, edging would be stimulating either partner to the edge of climax, the edge of orgasm, and then pausing, if not completely taking away stimulation, to not have that orgasm. And what that does is it builds more arousal and more blood flow. So this can look like, yes, getting to the point of orgasm, feeling it, and then stopping and pulling back. You're going to feel an increase in sensation. If you have a penis, you're probably going to start feeling a fun pulsation feeling, because that's the blood flow being like, oh, like I thought we were about to come. I thought it was ejaculation time, but it's not. So then every sensation after that feels heightened. I've had partners describe it as the wind could hit their penis after edging and they're close to ejaculation. So if you're struggling with arousal, maybe this can be something that you start in your masturbation practices. I've seen that be super effective.
Absolutely. And, men should masturbate often, because if you masturbate greater than 20 times per month, it actually decreases, and you ejaculate, I should say as well, because not just, masturbating, but also ejaculating, it decreases your risk of prostate cancer. So it's really important, for your health to masturbate. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I find it interesting when I mean I live in Tulum that has a very large spiritual community, especially neo-tantric community where they believe deeply in ejaculation control and ejaculation withholding. So they believe deeply in not ejaculating because they have a theory that it decreases your testosterone and that it takes away your life force energy as a man, but there's literally no science to back that up. And all the science is there to back up coming regularly is going to do wonders for your body, your stress relief, your sweet, sweet prostate. Your I was like, I don't think that edging your prostate for months on end without release sounds healthy. So this is your invitation. Touch yourself more. Come more.
Exactly, exactly. And edging is a great, masturbation is a great time to practice edging, because if you're practicing almost daily, you can be practicing that edging so that your stamina can be better when you're actually having penetrative sex with a partner. So, masturbation is the best time, to practice edging. Obviously, you can also do it when you're having sex too, when you feel like you're about to come, you can take it out, or you can slow down, or you can stop and do something else, and then continue once that feeling passes, so that you can continue and build your stamina that way as well. But during masturbation, it's the perfect time to practice edging, and
Yeah.
to really master it, because then you can use it during sex. It'll be more natural.
Yeah, and even in BDSM play, we use edging a lot, not just for the physical, but because when done with a partner, there's something very psychologically thrilling about it as well. So having that top line funnel of starting with yourself and then transforming it into something with a partner is equally as exciting.
Absolutely. And, if you're using it in BDSM play and your partner is bringing you to the point of climax, and then, decreasing that stimulation, it's only going to heighten your stimulation after that. So, playing with that is, can be a lot of fun and exciting too during sex. So, something to definitely incorporate. Let's talk about whether a man is a grower or a shower. And, some people, are get a little bit embarrassed or feel self-conscious when their penis is flaccid, because they feel like, it's small, and they consider themselves growers, and some people are just the opposite, where their penis looks large when it's flaccid, but then it doesn't really grow much.
Mhm.
So, you want to weigh in on that?
Again, it's the large penis fallacy in sense of, larger is not always better. Showing is not always better. I think my friends who are showers and just always have a large flaccid penis can tell you it is the most aggravating thing on earth for many reasons. Your clothing choices, you always have a bulge. Riding a motorcycle or a bike is hard. Exercise, your penis gets in the way. So the grass is not always greener on the other side. And it is completely normal to be a grower. That's the whole point. You're not supposed to be pumped up all the time. I think I have a really great example of that. Like I have the world famous David tattooed on my inner shoulder, and he's famous for his flaccid penis. And it was a symbol of beauty back in the good old days, because having an erect penis was seen as very disrespectful in public. I think it still is. Uh, I think it still is. So it's a completely normal human function. You're not meant to be slaying in this massive erect penis all the time.
Yes. And so let's talk about the definition of whether a person is a grower or a shower, because I think it's interesting. You're considered a shower if your penis grows less than 31% from flaccid to erect.
Ooh.
Okay, so if it grows less than 31%, then you're a shower. But if your penis grows more than 56% from flaccid to erect, then you're a shower. So it has to double in size almost, or more than double in size, in order for you to be a shower.
I can attest to that. I think some of my largest partners, you would be, it is fascinating. I mean, I enjoy seeing someone who's a grower, because you're like, wow, what is it like to just be a human shapeshifter, right? You see, it's like they have one of the largest penises you've ever seen, and then flaccid, it's pretty standard, if not, looks a bit on the smaller side. And then with full blood flow, you're like, you're another human being. It's like having a built-in transformer. But that's what that's what your body's supposed to do. And there can be a really big range. And I think personally, as a woman, I don't judge people based off of what I see on a flaccid penis. That's so unreliable.
Very true. Very true. Um, and like I said before, it's got to be hard, because even if it's a big penis, if it's not hard and it's slightly soft, it's still not going to feel, very, it's not going to feel that great, to the partner.
Well, and if you're saying there's at least, on people who are growers, especially if there's at least a 56% difference in sizing, that could mean that your partner is feeling a 56% difference in feeling, which that's not an undeniable percentage of a number. So we want to maximize that percentage.
Yes, exactly. Maximizing what you have is the key. Instead of thinking about, putting fillers or doing things out of the ordinary, maximizing what you have, I think, is key. Either way, what your penis size looks like flaccid doesn't mean much, because what matters to women is how big it is erect, and what is going to make you feel good. So focusing on getting that blood flow is really the most important thing. What do you recommend to help men maximize their blood flow?
What do I recommend? I think we already covered this with the penis pumps and the cock rings.
Yes. So there's penis pumps, there's cock rings. In episode 2, I talked about herbal teas that are really great for increasing blood flow for men. And I had a guest on here that is a master herbalist, and she has specific blood flow teas that she sells, because she is very much into taking care of her husband's dick, and she talks about that a lot on Instagram, and she's a lot of fun, and she has special blood flow tea. So there's that. And then you even mentioned earlier that eating healthy is very, very important for blood flow, because cholesterol is what causes the blood vessels to become filled with, plaque. So if you're eating a high cholesterol diet, meaning that you're eating any kind of animal products, you're going to have, less blood flow over time. So eating lots of fruits and vegetables helps decrease inflammation, and it also helps to clean out the blood vessels of the plaque that's built up in them. So lots and lots of fruits and vegetables.
Check your hormones. Hormone checks will do a lot for you as well. Make sure that the entire sexual organ to brain pipeline is actually functioning how it should, because that will affect
Absolutely.
your arousal response.
Absolutely. Checking to make sure that your testosterone levels are normal. All of that is super important. And if you are having issues with erectile dysfunction, seeing your doctor to make sure that your hormones are normal is really important. And if abnormal, there are treatments that you can do to increase your testosterone. So knowing that is super key. We also talked about already the acoustic wave technology that also can increase blood flow to the penis or the vagina, vulva, and clitoris as well. So that is super important for people to know about, because there is help, and that is what I do in my practice. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and I treat people with erectile dysfunction or decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And what this treatment does is it increases blood flow. That is the main purpose, to decrease those blockages in your blood vessels in order to allow for more blood flow to happen. So when all is said and done, um, and we have had amazing sex. Everybody has had orgasms, and, the woman's happy because the man's penis is nice and hard and erect, and she was able to get there. He was able to get there. Now, we want to talk about aftercare, because aftercare is so important for sex, or, after sex. And because aftercare comes from the BDSM world, the concept of it, I want to ask you what your favorite aftercare activities are.
Course. A lot of people struggle to view what aftercare is. And so I like to describe aftercare as the finale of a movie because sex, the way that sex usually pans out is a little bit like a movie. You have an intro, you start, you peak arousal, you have the main plot, and then the movie ends and flows into a finale. And usually it's very dismantling when there's not a good finale. It makes you mad, right? And so you want to think of aftercare as that finale, and it's a space to settle into the experience you just had, to create safety, to create connection. And so I find the most standard forms of aftercare will usually end up being taking time to cuddle, maybe go take a shower together afterwards, get each other food or water, depending on, I don't know, what type of intensity of sex you had. Maybe you're going to need to do some physical care afterwards, especially in my line of work, which is a little more intense. And so finding any way, shape, or form that you can connect after sex is going to be really important, and it helps create more bonding opportunities.
Absolutely. And I always think that, getting a nice warm towel after, finishing, your sex session is always a really nice little treat that your partner can do for you to kind of help you to clean up and to just like relax and enjoy the moment after sex, because sometimes you just want to lay there. So aftercare is so key. So cuddling, kissing, bringing your partner food or water, talking, talking, talking.
So much time.
So much talking. Perfect time to tell your partner what you liked the most. You know, give them the top three highlights of what, you really enjoyed, or, her, whatever, whoever your partner is. Tell them what you like, because you know what? Next time they'll remember and they'll do that again. So communicating your wants and needs is so key for enjoying your sex life.
Mhm. It's creating all this fun sexual energy and then just being able to marinate in it afterwards. That's all that aftercare is.
Yes, and I love that concept of marinating, afterwards, because, you can marinate for a while, and guess what? Your partner can become ready again and you can go for another round.
Exactly. You never know if you don't stick around.
Exactly, exactly.
Mm.
So I always like to ask this question to all of my guests, and you answered it the first time. So you might have a different answer this time, because the last time I asked you, your answer had switched from 10 years ago, which I didn't know you then. But so I'm going to ask you this question again. What is your favorite sex position, Julieta?
Mm. Definitely still my very pivoted doggy style, but I do also like sitting like a pretzel, like on top of someone's lap to really get the curve of the penis up towards the G spot and taking more of like an active riding stance. So think about having your partner sit crisscross applesauce and then you mount them on top. in the opposite direction like a pretzel. Wrap those legs around and enjoy the ride. Use their body as leverage.
I love that one. And I like to call it a seated cowgirl, but I mean, it's more like, because the man is sitting up too. I don't know if it constitutes it being a cowgirl, right? The man has to be laying down for it to be cowgirl, right? So if he's sitting, yeah, let's call it the pretzel, the Julieta pretzel.
It's very, very, very enjoyable and very sensational in terms of hitting all the right points inside the vagina.
Yes, so you're getting the internal stimulation because you're so close up. You're rubbing externally too, so you're going to get the vulva to be involved and the clitoris to be involved. So that can really be sensational too on the clitoris. So that is a good one. And of course, doggy style, like I've mentioned before, opens you up to being able to stimulate your clitoris externally with the vibrator or with your hand. And so that's going to help you to get there too if you like doggy style. So I love all of those positions. I honestly, there's not a position I don't like. I like them all. And they all have variations too. So it's nice to play around and change it up.
Experiment.
So, Julieta, where can our listeners find you?
The listeners can find me on julietachiara.com or on Instagram, which is @JulietaChiara. You can send DMs or peruse around for the free information and see the offers through there.
Awesome. And she has a very extensive website too, and it is julietachiara.com. Julieta, thank you so much for being a guest again on Please Me, and I have a feeling this won't be the last. I love having you on, and so do my viewers. So I am honored that you were able to come back and chat with me today.
I appreciate you having me, and I hope everyone enjoyed today's episode.
Absolutely. I'm sure they will. I know I did. As a licensed physical therapist, I treat conditions that affect blood flow, namely erectile dysfunction. If this is you, you are not alone. It is estimated that 20% of men in their 20s experience some form of erectile dysfunction, and it goes up 10% per decade. So by the time you're 50, 50% of men have erectile dysfunction. The best treatment is prevention. So the sooner you get treatment, the better outcomes you will have. Do not feel shy and reach out to me on pleaseme.online for an appointment or consultation. I love helping men and women to get their groove back, so don't be shy and say hi. Thank you so much, Julieta. Until next time. Visit pleaseme.online to reach Eve or for more information on products to increase blood flow and overall health. For her curated list of her favorite toys, and for swag that shows that you are a big fan. Please consider supporting the show.